What if the job you have today is not as future-proof as you thought? And what if AI is not just a hype, but the force already reshaping how we work, live, and lead? In this episode of Lumpia Bytes, we're not here to panic. We're here to explore. From data entry and customer support to admin work and even farming, we're asking, what jobs are really at risk and what does it mean for all of us? So I'm back with my amazing partner today, Moochie de Guzman. Hi, Mooch.
Hello, hi Fush. Hi guys.
All right. So, before we get started, I just wanted to thank everyone who tuned in our episode one. And then most importantly, the reason why I asked you, Mooch, to get a cup of water or tea is I wanted to do a quick, like a milestone cheer, right? Because I think, first of all, thank you for doing this. Thank you for sharing your passion and learning, your advocacy in sharing the knowledge to everyone. Grateful for the opportunity. You would have thought that we're gonna be working again together, and I'm really grateful for taking this new journey. Like I don't know anything about podcasting, but it's an opportunity. So thank you. Cheers.
Surprise! Caught off guard ako dun ah. Well, thank you then, Fush.
Yeah.
Thank you then, Fush. This is so fun. It means the world to me that I'm working with my first team lead. I mean,
True.
di ba? 15 years after, and I'm working with you again. So I'm so happy and I'm so excited where we're gonna bring this podcast. And I'm also so happy that a lot of our ex-HP friends and colleagues are actually watching and listening to. Hi, shout out guys. Thank you for the support. Hopefully it's not just something fun that we get to do, but something that's helpful to everyone. So if you guys want to know other stuff or my questions kayo or you want to discuss something, then come on. Halika, let's make this a fun time.
It's a weird feeling seeing your face on the episode one. It's. I mean, I'm not into this. So before, but I really enjoyed, the purpose of doing it, sharing the knowledge and talking to different. We're gonna be talking to a lot of people for sure in this podcast, and I'm excited.
Yeah, I'm also excited to kind of reconnect to a lot of our past colleagues as well and connect to new colleagues. Because at the end of the day, we kind of just want this to feel like a Friday coffee session or a coffee talk that's chill. But of course, now instead of tequila, we have water, drinking water.
Well,
But yeah.
this one is turmeric tea.
What?
Matanda na turmeric.
Mas intense yan. But yeah. So cheers, guys.
There's.
From from tequila party to brunch morning with tea and water.
Okay.
Hey nako. Okay, cool.
And
Sige,
so
game. Let's do this.
So today's topic, we're going to be talking about the different roles that are going to be impacted by AI. Maybe let's start with the big picture. Let's go through different reports or maybe news, current events on what's really going on in there, right? What are the companies doing right now and what are the projections? And I know, Mooch, you run into this WEF report, the World Economic Forum report, and it kind of give us an idea on the job projection. Maybe you can share a little bit of insights on that one.
So we found this report. Actually, I was able to read the 2023 report and I had just seen this 2025 report. And if you guys take a look at it, actually, you'd see that there's a lot of predictions when it comes to AI of what the World Economic Forum sees would be the progress for AI. Just to kind of summarize the key points there, around 86% expect that AI and information processing technologies would be driving the business. So basically, the World Economic Forum foresees that AI is going to drive. And you don't really need this report to kind of tell you that because all you have to do is log into YouTube and you'll see that everybody has a kind of an optimistic, if not aggressive take when it comes to AI. Because again, what the founding father of AI pretty much said in his recent podcast is that if the US or any of the countries slow down when it comes to AI development, somebody else is going to leap in front of them. So it's full speed ahead when it comes to AI adoption for companies, adoption for jobs, and AI adoption for pretty much a lot of the functions in a business. Of course, it's not going to happen overnight. It's going to happen one by one transformation project at a time, but it is going to happen, and it's what we can expect in the next few years. That the way that we're working is going to change drastically as it has been in the past 5 years since the pandemic happened. But yeah,
Yeah. Wow. Yeah. I mean, I was looking at the report as well. I see here, 170 million jobs created, but 92 million jobs displaced, right?
yeah.
So, like what you said in the episode one, it's going to create a lot of jobs, but it's also going to displace jobs. But net, we're going to be creating new jobs, right?
Yeah, there's what the point that I also wanted to kind of drive is that 170 million jobs created, 92 million jobs displaced. There's a net there of 78 million, but it's not automatic that the jobs displaced will be the jobs created. There's definitely more jobs being created now. What's scary is that the jobs being displaced is not necessarily what's being created. So you can't just transfer. But how you can enable yourself to transfer is by upskilling. For example, if we're in a traditional field or if we don't want to change, we can't force our old school ways in this new age that we're going into. Because us, the millennials and the Gen Zs, we're the ones that's really, really going to be impacted by this. Because the boomers and the Gen Xers are, well, some of them, especially the upper echelon part of that spectrum, they're going to retirement, so they're not going to be affected as much. Who will be affected is our generation because it's our jobs that will change, it's our functions that will change. So it's really important for us to be able to strategize our career so that we're part of the 170 million jobs that's going to be created. And I think the gold mine here is that there's a scarcity when it comes to AI talent. Not ChatGPT users, but when it comes to AI engineering, even as basic as prompt engineering.
Which we were just looking at it earlier, is the top largest growing jobs: farm workers, laborers, agricultural workers. I remember the CEO of NVIDIA, right? Jensen Huang. I mean, he doesn't recommend programming. He said programming is going to be gone, at some point. Just study farming, biology, and all these subject matter areas that people are like, oh, really? So it's like thinking, you know, maybe it's because these areas, right? There's still a lot of AI opportunities there, and the way we program, the way we code, that thing is going to change in the future. But it's just, I don't know. It's just amazing to see these data, these numbers, and kind of correlate on what's going on.
But I actually kind of disagree with Jensen Wang. I kind of disagree with that advice because I'm actually relearning how to code now. When I learned how to code, it was mostly Java during college, and well, SQL is not really coding, right? And Unix, I don't know if you can still consider Unix coding and Visual Basic, but now they code so differently. They code like a community. They have these online sessions where they code. They have GitHub. They have all of these tools that I don't know. So I'm trying to relearn it because when you learn how to code, it's also a logic or a structure in your head. That's so important in working with machines. So a lot of the ways that I work with ChatGPT is actually based on logics and lines of code. How I prompt engineer as well. So there's like universal concepts that you could apply if you learn how to code to working with AI because it's you're talking to a machine. When you learn how to code, you learn how to talk to a machine. So I think it's still important, but I also see his point that you do need to learn how to be a farmer because the technology stuff, the AI stuff, it's going to be natural in the future. So I guess the exciting part here is that we're probably going to see a farmer technologist, right? A farmer who's also using AI and technology to improve crop yield. We're going to see a lot of these blue collar jobs still be blue collar jobs because you still need that human effort, that human intelligence, but it's going to be partnered with AI. I was just mentoring this group that was doing something for farmers as well. So it's so funny that you were mentioning farmers because what we were discussing during that time is like, okay, what if you could gather data from all of your efforts as a farmer and try to figure out what patterns are there in 10 years of farming practices, right? So that you could have better crop yield. So those are just some of the applications. And there's a huge gap now between farmers and technologists, right? Farmers are good in farming, technologies are good in technologies. But in order to apply that, you have to have a translator in the middle, like a farmer technologist. That's pretty much how I found my role, like marketing technologist, because I was like, okay, I'm good in tech, but I can also be good in marketing. Maybe I can combine those two and find a niche for myself that's kind of rare in some sense. So that's how I tried to navigate my career as well. And I think there's a lot of opportunity for people to have a coffee shop and also be a technologist and try to figure out the best formula for coffee based with AI as your partner by
Right.
studying data or whatever, right? So those are just some of the exciting parts that the Venn diagram of careers is going to overlap. That you're going to see a lot of these blue collar jobs also have a lot of AI automation in them. So I guess that's exciting too.
It's an opportunity for our generation, the current generations, to witness this, right? We were not there when during the Industrial Revolution. More of like we were more like a consumer, but now we are in this point, and we're probably gonna see it in our own eyes how it's going to transition. And
Yeah.
a lot of us are in tech space, so there's a lot of opportunities in your own way, in your own capabilities, or in your own influence to shape the technology instead of just consuming it in your
Yep.
day-to-day
Yep.
lives. So there's good opportunities there. Before we move on to the specific roles, I also wanted to share a couple of news, especially here in the US and also one in the Philippines. This first one, Procter and Gamble. They're going to be cutting 7,000 jobs despite billions in sales. Right. So I wanted to emphasize here, it's basically 15% of the non-manufacturing workforce. So these are knowledge workers as part of what they call the push toward digitization and automation. A lot of people saying that it is really because of AI. They just cannot explicitly mention, but when they say digitization, automation, restructuring, and all these things, AI is definitely a factor in these cutting of jobs. And 7,000 employees, that's 15% of their non-manufacturing workforce. It's big. It's going to cascade for sure, not just here in the US, but also in offshores, right? A lot of people is thinking this is because of the move towards preparing for a more AI focused strategy.
Yeah, and probably we're going to be seeing a lot more of these types of things as we move forward. But I think it's important that if you're one of those folks who are affected by this, that it's not the end of the world. Layoffs happen, people get laid off, people quit, people resign. That's a normal part of life. And I guess the important part here is that you just kind of have to find it might even be an opportunity for you to prompt a new career, right? To prompt a new type of work that you could enter into or venture into. So I'd look at it as kind of like a forced opportunity. Nobody likes to be laid off. It's not an easy thing, right? But it's it's life. What can we do?
It's you just have to move on, like try to find other
Yeah.
opportunities and move forward. That's why
Yep.
upskilling is very important. You mentioned it in episode one. Okay.
Yeah.
I also wanted to share this another. news article. This is from the Philippines. So it says here 5 million Pinoys may lose jobs to AI. And, if you scroll down here, so job losses are also expected in the business process outsourcing and manufacturing sectors as AI becomes mainstream in business operations. They cited as well the IMF report, International Monetary Fund report, where 14% of the country's workforce is at risk of being replaced by AI. So that's a lot. And then I also look at the IMF report. It says there 36% of Filipinos are highly exposed to AI. I mean, 36% of that, but only 14% can be replaced by AI, which is good because more than 50% of that 36%, basically it's not going to be replaced, but it's more of the job's going to evolve because they're going to be using AI. So AI will be supporting them instead of AI replacing them. But overall, it's just the 14% that will be replaced. I mean, I know it's just 14 if you look at it, but
Yeah.
14% of the country's workforce is at risk of being replaced by AI.
Yeah.
And these are the roles that we're going to be talking about later in this episode.
It's a serious thing that people have to take seriously because it is going to happen. And unfortunately, we are not the ones controlling it. So it's either be a victim or a victor in this case, right?
Yeah, yeah, definitely. I attended a free webinar just last week, actually, after we met. Um, the chief data scientist of Microsoft was there, Jamie Tevan, if I'm not mistaken, and also Scott Galloway. I'm not sure if you know Scott Galloway, but he's an NYU professor of marketing, and he's an investor. He's a board member of different companies here in the US. And the host ask Scott, what's the ambience on the boardroom meetings, right? On the investor meetings, on the leadership meetings. What are you hearing now that AI is here? And he just bluntly said, start firing people and increase earnings using AI. It's tough to hear, but he's just being blunt on it. Because from the investors, the board's perspective, they've started investing so much in AI, they want to see returns. And the only way you will see return is you got to fire people because AI is kind of meant to scale without, without adding people, right? We scale, grow, increase the profit, the revenue without adding that cost of adding manpower and all those things. So, but
Yeah.
well, I was just surprised, that that he said that bluntly, and he just want to be honest about it. And he also mentioned about Google. Google recently offering buyouts to employees. They're quietly, some of them are not quietly, loudly restructuring, especially big techs, because it's difficult, I think, for bigger companies to transition compared to smaller companies on AI. I guess the message that I want to convey is it's happening,
Yeah.
right? The job cutting, the job losses, it's happening. I know the future's bright based on these projections. They're going to be creating new jobs, but like you said, we're going to go through that phase of the gradual movement, and eventually we're going to get there. But
I was talking about this with an enterprise client that I've been mentoring. It's harder to be AI first when you're an enterprise compared to when you're a startup. When you're a startup, you're creating everything from scratch, from
yeah,
new, right? But when you're an enterprise, there's a lot of old bad habits that are there. There's a lot of processes that may not need to exist anymore, but are being maintained. And the sad part is that it's easier to kind of cleanse than to transform. A transformation project might take 1, 2, 3 years, right? To have everybody change and shift to this new way of working. But cleansing, it's one and done. That's the sad part. And I wouldn't really fear monger or we're saying this not to instill fear on everyone, but kind of like here's a splash of cold water because it's happening. And what I see this as is more of the enterprise message or the message of companies to employees that we need you to upskill because this is going to happen and we need people who will be on board with us with these new changes. Again, I don't think that we're at that point that AI is going to take over all human jobs. I think there are more jobs to be created with AI than there is to remove. But we need people with AI skills, right? Either as basic as prompt engineering, as hard as data science or machine learning. Because honestly, right now, even with the startups that I'm working with, we're trying to hire people who are very comfortable working with AI.
Mhm.
And because I just can't operate anymore with a person that doesn't know how to work with AI because it has literally 10x my life. So I need somebody with the same level of efficiency. And this the one that I'm observing right now is that I'm not seeing those skills yet. I'm seeing a lot of people using ChatGPT, but they're using ChatGPT not in the most ideal way. They don't even know how to prompt engineer. So or how to meta prompt or all of those things that would make ChatGPT's output a little bit better. So I really am hoping to see more of these skills available in the market because again, a lot of people, especially startups, would want to hire these types of people and these types of skills.
Yep. Yep. You mentioned about enterprises having challenges compared to startups, right? So what they're saying is the incentive is somehow challenging because if you're a leader, grow this team and get more revenue and you're going to be incentivized, you're going to get promoted, right? But now use AI, adopt AI, but your job is on the line. The reason why there's adoption issues with big tech companies is because there's a revolt going on with some of the employees. Why would I use AI? Why would I adopt? I know that it's my job on the line. There's no incentive to them. So it's a different perspective.
The hard part there is that if you don't adopt AI, the more that your job is on the line. Because if you don't adopt AI, it's like, no, I want this manual process that takes me 5 days to complete. When your boss or even your boss's boss is already saying that I want real time reports every day, or I want reports when I need the data, I need to have the data. So
Mhm.
people are moving more and more towards real time things. The more that you resist, the more that probably your job's going to be on the line with AI, especially if you're a knowledge worker. Because I think people want to move faster and faster. That's just human nature. People want more, 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 faster, better, stronger. And it's something that we can't help. Of course, boundaries is important to set. Even AI has a runtime. But I think the more that you resist it, the more that your job would be on the line. I would be the type of person that I'd use this tool to 10x my productivity, which I have done and which I'm telling people that it's really safe. There was this one person in our team that says that the way to be irreplaceable or indispensable is to be dispensable. Weird, right? The way to be indispensable is to make yourself dispensable, which is basically have your documents ready, create processes, create systems, teach your teams. And that's the way that you become indispensable is when you actually make yourself dispensable. So weird.
Mhm.
I'm not even sure if I'm quoting it right, but the point is you have to create these new processes. You have to use these tools in order to improve the workflow. And that means that even if it quote unquote risks your unique selling proposition as a professional, I think that's the new evolution of work right now. I'll give you an example. When I teach, what I do is I only have 3-4 hours to teach people. After that, I give them prompts. I give them reading exercises. I give them books to learn, even when I'm not around anymore, so that they can continue learning, even if I'm not their teacher anymore. And it's really that kind of, I have
Mhm.
this mindset that we're not gonna be together forever. So might as well I can give you something that might last you ideally a lifetime, right? Or to allow you to learn even after this session. And that to me is like important to look at, that you're not just, it's not like the Lord of the Rings that this is my ring, this is my knowledge, and this is my knowledge only. No, you have to share that, because knowledge, like data, like cash, it depreciates. So the more that you hang on to it and not share it, the more that it'll just collect cobwebs in your head. If you share it, you release it, then you have a chance to multiply it. So that's kind of where I'm at, even with, I don't know if I digressed, but that's kind of where I'm at, even with AI, that you shouldn't be afraid. You should create the systems that would make your job right now dispensable. And I think that's an indispensable skill. If you're able to take your task, make it agentic, or make it more efficient with AI, that is a skill that you could take anywhere and that you could demand a really good rate on.
That's a really good point, Mooch. Okay, so now that we've set the context and we grounded the conversation with these reports, with the facts, the news, and what's happening on the ground, what do you think? What kind of jobs do you think are most threatened by AI today?
Oh, the sad part, it's the entry level jobs, right? Like the admin type of jobs. But the positive thing here is that I think the younger ones right now are so AI native that it's becoming second nature to a lot of tech savvy young people. It's important to have that, so that, again, startups are looking for people with skills, with
Mhm.
AI skills. So the more that you have these types of skills, the more chances you'll have to find a job.
Wow. It's a big news as well here in the US because a lot of consulting firms are cutting the number of entry level jobs.
Yeah.
And one thing I noticed as well is it's all over the news here in the US. I'm not sure if in the Philippines, but a lot of Gen Zs here are shifting towards the blue collar jobs instead of a college degree. Especially now with I think it's a trend before because of the
Yeah.
cost of colleges here. But with AI as well, it's somehow aggravated because being in the knowledge economy, they think it's going to be harder compared to just landing a blue collar job. So there's a shift right now among Gen Zs towards blue collar and not college degree.
Yeah. And that makes sense, because I think we still need blue collar jobs, right? I think blue collar jobs should be paid better, especially when, because there's going to be a division between the blue collar jobs and the really highly paid tech jobs, right? But um yeah, I think it makes sense.
And also I wanted to add, just remember this. There's so many quotes around the CEOs saying these, but I'm not sure if you know the Anthropic CEO, who mentioned that AI will eliminate 50% of entry level roles in the next 5 years. That's a
Oh
bold
my
statement,
gosh.
right? 50% of the entry level roles. Sorry, since you were talking about entry levels,
Yeah.
and it's starting to materialize.
I think entry level jobs as we know them today will change in the next 5 years. So that's
Mm.
definitely sure. It's a higher bar. Um, but I think the young ones, especially the fresh grads, they're already the ones who adopted ChatGPT the most were the high school students and
Mhm.
college students. That's why it's a big issue in university campuses and even in high schools, right? Because the kids are using ChatGPT even before it was viral. Before your parents knew about ChatGPT, kids already knew about ChatGPT. So they've adopted it before they even told their parents that they're using it. They've been using it as early as pre-ChatGPT days. They've been using things to help them on their essay even as early as 2019,
Mhm.
right? So it's becoming popular. It was naturally, organically becoming popular. It even became more popular during the pandemic when kids went hybrid. So I think they're gonna figure it out. The boring entry level jobs that our generation created or the boomers created will cease to exist. But I think jobs that would better fit Gen Zs and millennials would be created as well. And I think that's a
Mhm.
good thing, because honestly, like there's a lot of jobs that were during the industrial revolution era or even the boomer era that were created that I don't think Gen Z wants to do anymore. I don't even, right? Who wants to be an admin assistant taking minutes of the
Mhm.
meeting? I think jobs would be elevated. And I think Gen Zs also want that in a sense, right? Because
Mhm.
they're extremely smart. Their generation is like eons smarter than us, and they're more impatient than us, millennials. So I think they want everything faster, better, stronger as well. So I think the jobs that would be created would also reflect the abilities of the generation that's to come. So
Mhm.
that's just me being an optimist.
Yeah. I remember Sam Altman. I'm gonna quote another CEO again. He he mentioned, I'm not sure if you heard about this. He mentioned that millennials are using AI as a tool, while Gen Z, it's their operating system.
Yeah, that's so
Right.
true.
So us millennials, we're using this as a tool, but Gen Z it is their operating system. Wow.
Yeah, because millennials and even Gen X, millennials, and boomers, we have this fear that what if I feed my data here? We have fear, we have doubts, we have hesitations, we have biases. But the young people, they don't. They just jump, they
Mhm.
just adopt it. It's like, okay, this tool can do A, B, C. Oh, it can do X, Y, Z too. So I'm going to adopt it in my daily life. But that's dangerous as well for young people because
Mhm.
there's also studies that find that people are pretty much building a relationship with ChatGPT, which is not good as well. So um yeah, there definitely needs to be some form of balance there, but yeah,
Sure.
Gen Zs
Yeah.
are using it as an operating system, and I already use it as an operating system, right? It's like my everyday assistant that doesn't really complain. Even
Yeah.
if I message it at 12 midnight or at 5, 6 a.m., it doesn't complain. It like, okay, what am I up to today? Or what's my top priority today? Or what did I
Yeah.
say last meeting? Because it could already pull from different data sources, right? So
Mhm.
it's the best assistant, but I still need my project managers. I still need to work with people. But I need my team to be working with AI as well. So I think that's the difference. I still need humans because at the end of the day, humans have accountability. Humans
Mhm.
have responsibility, accountability, discernment, and critical thinking.
Mhm.
A project will not move without humans, right? A process
Yeah.
can be created in an agentic way that you can, set up a process with N8N or Zapier or whatever, and it'll get done.
Mhm.
But you still need humans to look at that data. Is it working? Is it not working? To be involved in the process of discernment.
Mhm.
Like once a system or a process is already running for 3 months, then you have to review that system. How can you improve that system, right? Because what AI can do right now is kind of repetitive, but it cannot improve upon itself. Some people would debate me on that, but I still think that humans are there for that intelligent work, for that wise work, for that discernment. Um, I think. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, you mentioned about Gen Z. I'm confident though that Gen Z is going to pull this off because I think personally, Gen Z is more focused on the social impact, more focused on the environment, the climate change, the health, and I feel like they're better in those areas compared to older generations. It's interesting how it's gonna go. Let's go through quickly these typical entry level jobs. So on my list, it's data entry jobs like data clerk, customer support agents, like call center agents, and admin assistants or virtual assistants. Like I have three. Maybe let's just go through each kind of one by one and give our thoughts and maybe some insights on how AI is going to change these kind of roles. Do you know any maybe any use case or why these data entry jobs are really highly at risk right now?
Yeah, because highly repetitive, right? And you can already do a bit of OCR when it comes to ChatGPT. Take a picture of something, it already can read for you. So I think data entry jobs would be AI powered so that a lot of these folks can do more with
Mhm.
less time. And instead of just data entry, I think it's gonna level up to a bit of data validation as well. Because what I notice AI can do is that it can already detect text from photos. Like even
Mhm.
ChatGPT, when you upload a photo in it, it can already detect the text. What is it? What object is it? Even if it doesn't have a label, it knows what an orange is or what an apple is, right? But it's not always right,
Mhm.
and it can hallucinate. So creating a system or an agentic system that reduces that hallucination might be there somewhere in the future. It might be already existing right now. But for data entry level workers, I'd say level up as soon as possible,
Mhm.
upskill as soon as possible, and try to figure out how to use AI in order to improve your job as well. Improve and kind of speed up the process of data entry. I don't think it's 100% going away. For sure, data validation would be a key process to make sure that what's being read by the machine or the computer is accurate. But instead of, for example, a data entry worker only being able to enter 1,000 records, maybe that expectation is going to shift to 10,000 records, right?
Yep.
Yeah.
No, I think that's true. It's a good point, from shifting perspective from data entry to look at the data validation, kind of level up, right? So one thing that I want to share in the data entry jobs is bookkeeping, because I think a lot of small businesses will be able to relate in this. They're handling a lot of invoices, receipts, and sometimes you have a team or a person who's doing the bookkeeping for you, really manually putting it in the spreadsheet.
Yeah.
And right now, there's a lot of accounting systems with integrations in
Yeah.
of AI, right? QuickBooks. I know a lot of accountants can relate in this, but there's already a feature where you can upload the receipt and it's going to map the expense details for you, and also categorizing expenses. And now with AI, it can learn from your data. Oh, this expense, oh, it's concerns the web. It came from a restaurant. It came from a restaurant. Could be a meal. It could check your previous transactions. Ah, it's a meal. So it's going to suggest to you that it's a meal. And going next level is you have a voice assistant, a voice activated, robo something where, oh, I'm going to look at the data. What is this expense? The efficiency there in terms of bookkeeping, data entry is through the roof.
Yeah. For
Mhm.
sure. But honestly, I'm the type of person that I still kind of need to talk to a human to be the one accountable for it. So I think it should still, like, I want to AI power my bookkeeper. I don't necessarily just want to work with AI or these platforms alone, solely because I still need somebody to log into these platforms. I basically don't want to think about it. So, as an entrepreneur, I think entrepreneurs would be best if they're focused on growing their business, scaling their business, reinventing things that would improve their business. But I think removing the administrative portion from us would be the best use of our time. So
Mhm.
if ever somebody if there can be one person to hire that thinks of all of those and is AI powered, that thinks from it, that looks at it from an operational perspective, then at least more entrepreneurs nowadays can focus on the strategic, for, to the long term vision, to what needs to be done than just the operational side of running a business. Because I think that's where a lot of solopreneurs also kind of lose their way and burn out. It's that when you're operating the business, then it's good, but you're not necessarily looking to scale that business. Are you
Right.
scaling the business or are you operating the business? Because that's like two different things. You can be operating to scale, but you might be too drowned with the day to day that you're not actually thinking of how do I scale this 3x or 10x in the next 3 to 5 years, something
Mhm.
like that.
So basically, data entry jobs, it's going to be highly impacted because of the repetitive, routine nature of the job, but it's not
Yeah.
going to be completely washed out, meaning
Well,
zero data entry
yeah, not
jobs.
in my opinion, because I still feel the need that I need a person that works with AI with me.
Yep.
So that you're not working with AI in a vacuum. Because when you start working, like just if you're a solopreneur and you start working with AI and solely with AI, then you kind of get stuck in an echo chamber of your own thoughts.
Yeah.
And AI magnifies and amplifies bias. So if you've been talking to ChatGPT for a long time, it's actually going to give you answers that it thinks you like. Because the goal of ChatGPT is to give you the right answer on the first try. So it'll use all of the data that it knows of you and what you like and give you the right answer. That's not always good, especially if you have a business. You can't have people saying yes to you all the time. You have to have people who know how to debate, who know how to argue, who know how to fight for ideas. And to me, data entry jobs will change. It's just that I think these folks who have these jobs need to learn how to use it with AI. And I think from an entrepreneur's perspective, people still need people still need people to grow stuff.
Yep.
That's
Cool.
that's just my opinion.
Yep. Yep. Data entry, bookkeeping is a lot of discussions surrounding the accounting world as well. And I wanted to do shout out to my friend. He's actually watching. He's like a follower in episode one, and he's an accountant, and he's actually taking masters in data science.
Wow.
So it's like,
But
wow, yeah.
but you right? Would you, if you're choosing between two accountants or two bookkeepers that you're gonna work with, would you choose the one that's AI, that's also powered by AI, like a human with an AI system, or just a human doing everything manually?
This
You'd
should be the
choose the
first.
one
Yeah.
that, yeah, you'd choose the one with the
Yeah.
AI powered system, right? Who
Yep.
knows how to use these tools, who gives you the best reports, who gives you
Mm.
insights and analysis, right? So it's a leveling up of the jobs that are existing. But you choose the one that's more of an Iron Man than a manual man, right?
That's
So there's
true.
a lot of inaccuracy with bookkeeping as well, right? The error rates in bookkeeping are so high. So I'd choose the one with the AI systems.
That's true. Yeah. Okay. Let's go to the second role here, customer support, call center agents, and the first level support. These are the people who do, in an IT world, could be like password resets, service requests, order tracking in e-commerce, data updates, and a lot of it all goes through level one support, the routine tasks.
Yeah, this is a good topic because there's a lot of call center folks in the Philippines. And actually, this was also my topic in my recent course on how to AI power your support center workforce. I think the knowledge industry really increased and the support tickets also increased, right? There's actually a study that a lot of call center workers are burned out. They're burned out, they're stressed, they're anxious because of the volume of work that had to go to them. So just imagine if you're a tier one or a tier two support agent and a lot of requests are starting to come in and they're not hiring. If the BPO is not hiring, then all of that goes to you and your team and you're drowning in tickets. But the good thing about AI now is that you could actually offload the tier one, which is has been happening in a long time, right? That tier one is already being either automated or auto response. But the more that that's being done, at least your human agents can kind of level up to higher level problems that would need humans to solve. For example, escalated tickets or proactive monitoring or frustrated customers or winning back customers or creating or looking for customers or processing new customers or getting new sales instead of just firefighting low level tickets. They should be in higher level roles that are actually advocating for the customers or creating more moments with the customers that would advocate for loyalty, right? So my point here is that I think a lot of the tier one support levels should really be AI. Like humans don't want to answer the same thing over and over again. Imagine answering the same basic question 10,000 times in your career. That's really a waste of a human career. So to me, it's people's job should be elevated in a sense that they should be more on the escalations or with creating empathy with the customer or handling frustrated customer, winning back customers, reaching out to customers, and creating new customers. So I'm like, humans should be the human time and human intelligence should be allocated for greater, kind of like greater skilled jobs than just how does this work 10,000 times?
Yeah. But I think you're talking about it from an organization standpoint that, these people, these are great people that they're better off on other higher level work,
Yeah.
more decision making instead of routine jobs. But in terms of the customer perspective though, and there's customers, I'm not sure if you experienced
Yeah,
this,
it's true.
where you call and it's an operator, it's a robocall, or I don't know what they call it, IVRs, I think, like the interactive voice something that press
Yeah,
one if you want this, press two, press three, and then you're just getting
I'd be
impatient
annoying.
because your option is not
Yeah.
there, and you want a real person assisting you in this. Maybe at the end of the day, there's still a portion of customer support, the human support in there, but a big part of the customer support team would be AI powered.
Yeah.
But there's
Yeah, I
still
think
like
so.
I think same as the previous one, like you mentioned, it's not going to be totally gone. There's still going to be a low percentage that's doing the human aspect of it in this kind of role.
Yeah. Yep.
And one thing I wanted to share as well, one great use case on customer support, right? Remember when you're talking to the customer support representative, you don't know AI is already listening to your conversation. So as you talk to the customer support, AI is already transcribing your conversation and it's already searching on the LLMs, right? The chatbots by these customer, service, customer
Interactions. Yeah.
interactions, and they're already laying out options to the customer support representative, and basically they're just going to relay the information to you. They're still going to evaluate it, but it's easier now for a customer representative to find solutions, right? Potential
Yep.
problems, and that's efficiency. And it's like, wow, it's
Yep.
I was wowed by that use case.
I agree. And actually I was part of part of my course is to say that you shouldn't remove humans entirely from the process because I think humans still like talking with humans.
Mm-hmm.
Humans have empathy and understanding and critical thinking that I don't think AI has right now. Maybe in 5 years I'll change my mind. But if you empower people with AI powered tools, then it can actually create good impact to the customer. Because as you said, human agents can suddenly solve customer problems better. So yeah.
Yeah. Cool. All right, let's go to the third one. Admin assistants. Wow, like we know there's a lot of virtual admins in the Philippines right now. It's like a hub for VAs, virtual assistant in the Philippines because large pool of English speakers, cost-effective laborers. There's strong work ethic of the Filipinos. How do you think they're gonna get impacted by AI?
I think there's always going to be a need for admin assistants and virtual assistants. I personally need one right now. I need one who's AI powered, who knows how to use the tools so that they could give me better quality output.
Click the
So
link below
do
to
I
apply.
I- yeah, click the link below to apply. Send me a DM. We're hiring right now. We're hiring social media managers and virtual assistants. No, but
There you go.
seriously, we are. Seriously, we are. But I need somebody who when I look at candidates nowadays, I don't look at the skills. I look at the behaviors. So I look if are they responsible? Are they honest? Do they have accountability? Can they admit it when they're not perfect or when they're at fault? So I look at these three key behaviors and values. If these are present, then I look at okay, can you work with ChatGPT? Can you work with AI tools? Can you work with AI assistants and all of that so that you could give me a better quality output? So instead of you being paid to do more manual work, like manually transcribing minutes, can you give me insights from that minutes or recommendations? Or can you sum it up for me in 2 minutes instead of like an hour discussion, right? So I think it's the runtime of work, it's getting shorter. That things that usually would need a day would take an hour or right or shorter. But I do want more insights from real humans using their brains. So admin assistants, I think virtual assistants gonna be there. But instead of you just typing the minutes, why don't it be you also giving insights from the minutes, or how are you reading people in that meeting as well? Or what did you think about that meeting? How can we improve this meeting, or how can we do this more efficiently in the future? So it's more of that critical thinking and that insights as well, other than the manual work. I think it
Mhm.
might even go more towards coordination and project management, right? Because instead of just being the one to type, you should already start managing or coordinating the next steps or helping improve it as well. So I think it's going to be an evolution of that job.
So it's not as high risk as the other two jobs. There's risk, especially on the repetitive nature, the repetitive
Yeah.
component of that job, but the human element will matter most. Hmm.
Yep.
What you mentioned about agentic AI, right? It's going to be another buzzword in this AI revolution. Maybe we can give them like, high level overview on what is agentic AI. And probably for some listeners, it's the first time that they heard about agentic AI. Right.
The safe definition of agentic AI is that there's really no clear industrial definition of what agentic AI is. Even because somebody's definition with agentic AI might be different totally from somebody else's definition with agentic AI. But generally,
Mhm.
it refers to AI systems that are able to act autonomously to achieve specific goals by perceiving, deciding, and taking action without human intervention. So the key here is that it's not automation. Automation, when you automate a process, it's like if then else type of thing. There's a flow chart, there's a specific output, there's a specific process that it has to follow. For agentic AI systems, it basically has to be able to perceive and decide and take action all on its own. For example, if you have an agentic email system that reads an email, understands an email, takes a decision based on that email, and creates action from that email, all without human intervention, is a sample of an agentic workflow or an agentic system. So when you create it, you usually have a high level goal, like find investors and or find people to message and draft an email. So
Mhm.
it will search, it will research, it will find people who can reach out to, draft the email based on the information it has gotten, send the email, and then maybe just send you a summary afterwards when that's ended. So it kind of does what an assistant would do. I'm not too comfortable with it right now, but I do see a lot of folks who are able to use it as well. So, I mean, I think agentic systems are going to be the future of consulting. I think every consultant might have their own agentic workflow for them that already kind of researches, analyzes, SWOT analysis, right? Or does whatever your process is
Mhm.
and then generate you an output. So for me personally, what I'm trying to figure out right now is as a as an advisor and as a growth consultant, I'm trying to pin down my process, my steps, and break down my thinking process so that I could put that into an agentic workflow. So that's what I've been trying to do. And that's why I also want to go back to the technical side of it, because I think the smart consultants would have their own custom proprietary AI tools that's unique to them, that creates a specific and particular output for them. So I think that's where it's headed. That's certainly where I want to be headed. And that's also kind of where my curiosity is.
Wow. So you mentioned about like an assistant, basically. So it's like if I want to plan a trip to the Philippines, can you plan me a trip, the most cost effective trip to the Philippines? So basically, this agentic AI will search for flights, the most cheaper one, search for hotels, book it, search for, all information that you need to plan your trip. The like what you said, you're not that comfortable in this because it's going to make decisions for you, which is kind of, you know, not there
Yeah.
yet, I'd say. I mean, it depends on you and how comfortable you are, this AI doing decisions for you.
I'm not sure if I'm gonna put my credit card in an agentic system that decides for me because I don't know what it's gonna book, right? So I
It
might
should be
not do it on
refundable
that
as
side.
well
So
if it is.
yeah, it should be refundable. I'm not sure if I'm gonna use it to book a trip, but if when the industry does get into something like that, that I have a system that already knows my preferences, knows the safety records of the airline that I want to fly in, and the types of hotels that I like within the budget that I can afford, then that's like, gosh, that's a lot of hours saved from my end. Can I just say, hey, ChatGPT, I'm going to the US on these dates. Can you book everything for me? You know what I like. So my budget total is X $1,000. Can you be the one to do it? And then just give me a summary after that. That's gonna be like, yeah, maybe in 3 years.
Yes, that's close.
Maybe that's a good idea, Push. Maybe we should start that now. Right?
Oh.
We should build that system now.
Yeah, that's the
Okay. So to the
future of
folks listening, you just saw the birth of a startup that Push and I are going to start. AI
agentic.
travel assistant. Yeah, AI agentic travel assistant.
Cool. So I know it's a lot to take in. Um, it's a lot to take in, especially if you've worked on these jobs. I hope we didn't instill fear, like what you said earlier, but really more of awareness, more of challenging yourself on stepping up, thinking outside the box. But I hope we gave them the reality check or splash of cold water.
Yeah.
Mooch, we're gonna close in this one. What do you think should be our audience key takeaways?
I hope we didn't fear monger too much. Um, but I want to end it with a positive note that I know it's confusing and I know it's overwhelming because even I'm overwhelmed and confused at times. But I think overall, we're all in this together. We're all going through this change together. There's no need to panic. The good thing here is that there is a human pace to change and there's still time to catch up. But we have to take action. I mean, just even doing micro learning sessions with AI or upskilling would help, at least help you for the next level of your role and to kind of elevate your role and your profession in the age of AI so we don't fall behind. So, and I hope everybody, if you guys feel confused or overwhelmed, don't worry. There's also a study that said that 91% of C-suite is actually faking their knowledge. It's from uh, Pluralsight, I think, that said they ran a survey and it showed that 87% or something of executives fake their AI knowledge and 91% of C-suite is actually faking their AI knowledge. So we're all coming from the same pace. We're all level one here. We're all learning. It's important to have a community of learning. So let's stay curious, stay proactive, and let's stay positive. Positive. It's gonna be okay, and we're all gonna learn, and we're all gonna adapt, and that's just life. Okay. So
That's a
yeah,
good one.
hopefully this helps.
Yeah, this is a lot of information, good information. And I think hopefully this will motivate them to gear up, right? Instead of giving up, especially if your job is on the line. I think good advice as well is use those productivity gains in upskilling.
Yeah.
Cool. I think we'll wrap up here. Thanks, Mooch. Next episode, tune in. We're wearing dark today because we're talking about, a little not so bright, I would say. But next episode is going to be brighter. We're gonna be
We didn't
talking.
plan this. You make it sound like we planned it.
Anyway, next episode is going to be brighter because we're gonna be
Okay.
talking about jobs that will thrive and jobs that could emerge with AI. And
Yeah.
also, we're going to be talking about the human elements that will shine in this AI world. And a lot of people have been waiting for that one. So stay tuned in that episode 3. All right. Thanks.
Cool.
Thanks, everyone. Thanks for
Thanks,
watching.
guys. Thank you for watching. Bye.